What's going on, everyone? What's going on?
What's up?
What's going on, internet?
All
It
of you.
seems like it's been
Internet.
it seems like it's been so long, but really not.
Only been a week.
Only been a week, yeah, and a lot has happened in a week. A lot of progression. But yeah, guys, welcome to another episode of Carbonite Bounty BS with me and the nerds here. Um, really action-packed episode for you guys. I mean, three, not one, not two, but three episodes of our Bad Batch season 3 premiere. But before we even dive into any Star Wars content, I think we would be remiss if we don't take some time to dedicate to DP Brown. If you guys don't know, and it might not be nationally, but DP's been recognized in the tri-state area for his accolades with his comic book project he's been working on for years. It's something near and dear to him. He has a Kickstarter he's going to talk to you guys about. We're only $140 away from hitting his target goal. So before we get going, DP, we just want to give you a couple minutes to talk a little bit about the theme of thieves, and like I said, give your flowers for being recognized here in the tri-state area. And on arguably a national newspaper, I don't know, Post-Gazette's pretty big in the country, so
Post-Gazette is in the tri-state area, so got a local pub with the Pittsburgh Coast Post-Gazette, so for featuring me and pubbing our release party last night at the Poetry Lounge. So it was an epic thing. So thank you guys. Thank Steel City for coming out. Missed you guys. Ken and T Mitch and everything. But I know you guys were there in spirit. So shout it out Nerdcyclopedia there. Make sure everybody knew about that. But yeah, the theme of thieves is about two teens and a mysterious being. They're traveling through time and they're trying to solve a mystery of why people are disappearing in the present. We are on our 4th issue. So this is my 4th Kickstarter as far as the theme of thieves. So, had 3 successful campaigns. We're already reached goal as far as, this one. So it's going to be my 4th successful campaign. And about less than 2 hours, the Kickstarter will end. Okay. And we're trying to reach 2,000. So every physical backer can get a metal bookmark. So, let's get that $140 so we can, get that last little bit in before the project ends. But yeah, definitely appreciate, like I said, everybody's support. And if you're watching this and watching on the rewatch and everything, once the Kickstarter ends, you still will be able to go back in. Once I set everything up for you to actually order the 4th, issue and everything. So make sure you go out and support the theme of thieves right now.
Good stuff, man. And while we're here, man, go ahead and do our housekeeping and lead us into the show.
So while we're cleaning the house there, make sure that you guys go to nerdcyclopedia.com, your favorite website where you get all your fanfic, Star Wars stuff, anything that has to do with Star Wars, and also on pop culture stuff. We're talking about that on nerdcyclopedia.com. You're also on social media. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok at Nerdcyclopedia. If you are listening to us on podcast, we're on iHeartRadio, TuneIn, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, anywhere that you listen to your favorite podcast, we are there. And we're also on Odyssey now, so that big Odyssey app. So we're leveling up, in 2024. If you're watching us on YouTube, make sure that you smash that subscribe button. Also hit that notification button, so anytime that we're on, where we're on. If you're watching us on Facebook, thank you as well. Make sure you like and share our Carbonite Bound and BS of Star Wars group. We love to get more, on board so we can talk about everything that's Star Wars related. And also, if you just want to leave us some direct feedback, email us at nerds@nerdcyclopedia.com. We love getting that feedback and, having you tell us what you think about us.
Well said. And, it's crazy, when we talk about it's February, man, and Bad Batch has already arrived, and it looks like, Disney and LucasArts and, our whole nerddom is the chamber's loaded for this year, man. We had a lot to cover this year, so Thankful that they gave us 3 episodes off the bat. 3 great episodes, right? And yeah, guys,
Right.
just kind of opening up the show. Very excited. I don't really have an initial reaction. I'm excited for this. This has been a year. I think we talked about it. I think this is a year in the making, right? Because I thought that I was very critical of last season. This season is starting out a completely different tone. Love the characterization as we're going to dive into these 3 episodes. And, Ken, you're the eternal optimist. So we'll let you lead off because I know that you have some very, very, very.
Yeah, so I'm not real critical about these 3 episodes. This was a real nice way to ease back into it. It picked up real comfortably from where season 2 left off. I did go back and review just so because I'm old and I needed to make sure I understood what I was getting into. So I did go back and review season 2, just the last 3 or 4 episodes. I felt that this perfectly. Confined, which was the name of the first episode of season 3, I felt was a great reintroduction back into what is now kind of a new inspired Omega. I think she is now becoming herself and she's learning where she kind of fits in or not fit in. Like she knows she's different. She doesn't know why. This episode had a real, I love the Imperial Medical Facility. Like I love the vibe. I love the background noise. I mean, it had a little bit of Resident Evil. It had, I had a real like umbrella, a thing going on. I liked the machinery. Everything had a real kind of, I got the feeling it was old, but it worked. Even the machine that moved the blood samples around, it kind of clonked into place. And there was a real sort of sinister aspect. You had a feeling that the blood itself was a character. Like we needed to feel that the blood was important for some reason. We don't know why. We don't, we're being reintroduced to this. The second episode brought the Bad Batch back in. What had they been doing? And then they're searching for Omega. So they're now like, they're just mercenaries for hire. They're pulling slugs to get information about the Empire. And then they brought it home with the last episode. What was it? Trouble on Tentis. What was the name of it?
Shadows of Tantus.
Shadows.
So it kind of brought the arc together. We had the Emperor show himself. It was great. My only gripe, and I guess it's not really a gripe, it's just my selfishness, is I wanted to go into the vault. Like I wanted to see something. And that seemed to be the big, you're gonna have to wait till episode 6 because we're not gonna show you shit until we want to make sure your butt's in the seat every Wednesday. Before we show you the point, like what are they doing and what's Hemlock got his mind around, and what's gonna be his ambition, because he wants to be the head leader of the entire Imperial Medical Division.
Medical and science.
He has ambitions. He has ambitions.
He has, and the Emperor's like, nope. Nope, not yet. It had a very like, the relationship I feel was kind of like what the Emperor and Vader is going to be. Like Vader wants to be more than what the Emperor is willing to let him do. He's got him on a tight leash, so to speak. And I feel like Hemlock is going to evolve, and it may be his undoing. I think we might see him really like fall out of the favor of the Emperor, but we'll have to see. But I ate these episodes up. This was just great Star Wars from a fanboy myself. I dug it. I love the vibe. Don't really have any bad thing to say except I wanted to see inside the vault. God damn it.
Right.
Take it away. Tear it apart, Team
It was-
Mitch. Go ahead. Just
No,
tear it
man,
apart.
there's nothing to tear apart. I'm happy about this. This is exactly what I wanted from the show last season. I just thought they got off the rails. Love the maturity. It seems like Omega and this whole, I guess, I don't know, this exile or this prison sentence is really, took her character, it's a whole 180 from where she was last season. Matured a lot more, and we can tie it into a bunch of different themes. Maybe it's aging of a clone. She was maybe at a younger teenage, and now the maturity's kicking in of her just being an older female. But I'm really liking that, liking the stakes. And it's a little bit of everything, like we're saying, right? That has that video game element. You have Hunter and Wrecker out there looking for clues to try to find her. I mean, it's a bunch of different story arcs, I feel like, and the great thing is we're not really introducing too many new characters. So I kind of like where it's at, right? We have the stakeholders, the main characters, and we're really building up. Obviously, as you alluded to, Ken, we have the smoking gun, which is what is Abomination are they creating? Um, it's not a negative thing, but I mean, it's kind of weird. And this will be one of the main talking points. So at some point, Omega was created as a force sensitive clone. So that makes me wonder if she was a version of Boba Fett. That would be that Boba Fett has an M count, and this is going to be very interesting because I like where they're going with tying this. Because think about it right now. This is crazy that we're talking about this. This is probably Sheev's. He's basically Super Saiyan. This is probably strongest form. He's young, his body's so good. We're at the point that he's now already prepping for 55 years down the road to his demise and these clones of him and Snoke. So this is like a 50-year process of him being a younger version of him, already prepping to know that he needs a new vessel. So I like how they're tying this in the sequel trilogy and making this whole 9-movie arc makes sense because that's what this really is doing right now. Is This is tying all 9 together and giving it substance. So I'm happy with this. This is what I wanted from Star Wars. Hopefully, The Mandalorian continues this with the way they're doing all this because this to me feels like what they were doing when they created the Infinity Saga. They're really tying everything together and making it one big saga, and I don't have a problem with that at all. If this is what they're doing, so
Yeah, they're kind of taking a step back.
right,
They're taking a step back and they're looking at the thing.
Yep.
They're seeing where the holes are and they're sort of notching it together.
Yeah,
With
that's all we asked.
Yeah, we're still giving us those really tasty bits,
Yep.
So yeah, I agree totally.
Yeah. What about you, Hitch?
Yeah, I really enjoyed these episodes a lot. I like a good prison drama, and I think, especially in a show like Star Wars or a universe like Star Wars, it really puts into stark display the oppression of the Empire, and that's something that I really like because it's a great microcosm for what they want to do to everywhere. They want to restrict interplanetary travel and then blow you up if you step out of line, just like in Andor with the electrified floor, right? So there's always consequences, and I think they do a really great job showing how the Empire is just very tyrannical. Sheev Palpatine showing up on this series right away makes me so happy.
Right away.
You gotta wait. Sometimes, I mean, the Emperor deserves to make an entrance. Let's be clear. He has earned that right by murking many Jedis over the years, right? So he deserves to make an entrance. I was a touch underwhelmed with the escort, only 4 fighters. That's it. You would think that he would at least have some sort of Star Destroyer, but I guess he doesn't want to draw attention to what he's doing here. I got some very exactly.
He doesn't want attention.
I got some Pulp Fiction vibes from, you know what I mean? Like some Pulp Fiction briefcase vibes whenever they opened up the Sheev clones. Obviously, these are clones of the Emperor, all messed up, all shriveled up and evil, just like, all messed up in there. Very excited about that. And even the side mission, right? The video game mission had some interesting stuff in it. I mean, the idea that you could chop off the root of a plant and it would grow legs and run after you, that's terrifying. And so you got to give up. They gave us some interesting stuff. Regs of different ages, like 16 and 14 or whatever, just trying to survive. Interplanetary bombardments. I mean, it's got everything you want. So this was a really great set of episodes. And in my opinion, what it's doing is it's answering the question of somehow. So how does Palpatine return? Well, we're filling in the gaps here. There's some sort of midichlorian neutral or midichlorian increasing clone process whereby Palpatine will die, have his consciousness transmitted to a clone, and that clone will be even more powerful than the body Palpatine was in. Almost makes one think this is like a regular thing Palpatine's going to shed, like a hermit crab or something, where he's just going to burn out a body like a fuse.
Maybe a cicada. Maybe
a cicada. Yeah, exactly. Like just, this was my old form. Now feast your eyes on this new form, and it's exactly the same, right?
Perfect cell. We're in the cell saga now here.
Right, exactly. You can't kill this version of me. Now I can't suffocate. Now if you throw me down a power shaft, I'm fine. That's what this new clone does. So I really enjoy this a lot. But what's interesting to me is, we just finished watching Resistance, and now we have Bad Batch doing the job Resistance was designed to do and tie 7, 8, 9 together. Right. It's ingenious though, because this is so much further along, like earlier in the timeline. Right. This is just when, to your point, this is Palpatine in his prime, right? This is world champion, long winning streak, continued winning streak, Palpatine.
Winning streak.
And in a significant and hefty streak in front, too. This is like Joe DiMaggio in like July of 1941 here. Like, that streak's going to keep going. So it's excellent to see that. Palpatine's cold answer to Hemlock of in due time is so like, it's like, we'll see if this works, right? Like, don't count your chickens before they hatch. And I genuinely enjoyed how the stormtroopers didn't seem quite as stupid this time. They had to at least try to trick him and try to get him to do stuff.
Wait, yeah, that's a good point. Real quick, that's a good point, because there were two classes of stormtroopers. There were the ones with a little more sense, and I think they were clones that they allowed themselves to be scraped and reprogrammed, and they were given the best of the best of the best. I mean, these guys, like the Clone Commandos. You ever play that game? Everybody played that game, right, on Xbox, Clone Commandos. Like that game hit it out of the park. Instead of like, that's probably the best Star Wars based video game I've ever played. And I think those
all right, that might be a hot take right there. No,
you got to go back and play it if you don't agree.
No, Kotar, man,
it puts you in the armor really of a clone, and they had everything. They had all the tactical gear. They had flamethrowers. They had grenade launchers. I mean, it was a very good, well-written video game. I guess that's what I mean. It's just a very well-written storyline. Anyway, there were two levels of stormtroopers. There were the flunkies, and then there were these commandos. And you had, even when they went to search for the prisoner, the escapees, the clone commandos were basically calling the shots, and Stormtrooper B were like kind of the backup. They were the infantry, they were the fodder. But yeah, there were definitely different stormtrooper intellects. That's a good point.
I think it's hilarious that these are like, soldiers wearing in full battle armor with guns, and we know we've seen them use these guns. We know what they do. They blow holes and stuff. They're effective, and they're just like, those guys are dead. They're going to die. They're definitely going to die. There's like 6 of them, and they're like, you don't think they're going to be able to walk the quarter mile back to base? Like, it was just so weird. And then we saw the animal that's been terrorizing them, and it's just, it's not nothing, but you would think that 6 dudes in armor with guns would be able to make their way back home in that situation. I want to talk about these dogs. This Star Wars hit me where it hurt on this, with this dog getting hurt. Then they're going to kill the dog. And I'm just so glad that Crosshair put an extra one in that droid. I was so happy. And I love that they've carried over the Bad Batch's enmity toward all droids into this season. And I was very gratified to see that for sure.
Well, I mean, somehow you guys, your boy returned, and
somehow Palpatine returned.
And
that's right on key. Right on key.
What he did. That guy made his grand entrance with the hood and everything, And it's such a pleasurable thing hearing like Ian McDermott's voice, whenever he just comes, he's just a lifer in this whole Star Wars thing. He's in it until he's done, just like James Earl Jones was, well, I mean, is.
He's not dead yet.
No, he's not dead yet.
We gotta say yet. Do we have to say?
Yeah, right.
Do we have to say yet about?
I mean, eventually things are
like,
going to happen here, Scott. So didn't he sell his voice and everything? Like
he said he gave their permission to use AI with his voice to create the voice of Darth Vader in the future, which makes sense because it's a vocabulator, so it should sound a little clippy. So it's fine. I think that's a good thing that he did that. Because it's so and also his voice is so distinctive. You know what I mean? There's nobody that sounds like that.
Yeah. Nobody
sounds like James Earl Jones.
Yep. Yeah, I was thrown back with these Vibe episodes and stuff. I mean, they had me at like hello, the first scene with with that first episode, and I was getting like such Andor vibes and stuff from just being back in this universe. And after watching Resistance, you just get like, okay, let's get back to the good stuff, and not that Resistance wasn't good or anything like that, but that was the ultimate filler for the few weeks that we was watching it.
It was filler.
It kept us in like the whole rotation of working our Star Wars joints.
It was pre-game, it was pre-game.
Yeah, we actually got back to playing on the court again and everything.
Right.
The real stuff. Now the playoffs are here. The championship, all whatever you want to.
The champ is here.
Sports term you want to term, this is where we're at. We're in the end game now. But yeah, I mean, in the THX, Ken, we were getting very great Resident Evil vibes, not only in that facility, but in like the creatures and stuff on that one planet. When we were
Weather vines.
Second episode, that and the
stay away from the windows.
Yeah, that were like crawling back and forth in that one place that they were. I think it was the second episode. I was like, yeah, this is really reminding me of like Resident Evil here. The whole overall tone was dark. The music was dark. The people's voices. This new villain that they introduced. They whispery stuff. We're getting a lot more of I forgot what's the alien's name with the long head that that's like
Caminos.
Yeah.
Nalase.
Yeah. So we're getting a lot of whispering. We're getting a lot of like quiet. We're seeing like we're seeing Omega. We're seeing she man. They're making me like her now. She the way she was playing it. Doing what she was doing like these past 3 episodes and stuff, and her chemistry with Crosshair. It was just like phenomenal, I mean, to the littlest detail through that last episode where they were fighting with the ship, and it was this one scene where Crosshair was outside of the ship, and Omega was inside of the ship, getting things, trying to find out things about the ship, and she's really innate, knowing how to run stuff and everything, so she's getting all the ship prepared and stuff. And then Crosshair jumps on the ship. She's coming back down the elevator. And they switch places, and I'm like, man, and didn't say anything, didn't mention anything to each other, didn't talk to each other. They just switched places as if they've been working together for a long time and everything. So the chemistry with them two was just like, it was just crazy to me. And I kept rewinding that one scene. I was like, she went up the elevator and he was fighting outside. Then she came back down the elevator. They switched positions. And it was just like, man, I was okay. Yeah, I need to see more of these two, just do their thing. It was just so much good stuff in these last batch, these first batch of episodes for this season. I mean, I cannot wait until I can't wait to see what they have, for the rest of the season and everything. I mean, more Empire is what we've been asking for, and they fed us like a smorgasbord of stuff for these first 3 episodes. So I can't get enough.
Yeah, and that was all that, like you were talking about, DP. That's all that clone training, memorizing all those operations, and Tech made her memorize them. And I love Crosshair. He's like, of course he did.
Of course he did. Yeah, of course he did.
It showed that he was he's pining for his squad. He's been through a lot, but he's been pining to get back to the gang. And I just thought it was when Steel City was going on about how great the Empire is, and there's so technologically.
He's a big fan of the Empire.
I love the Empire. I love the Empire.
The Empire just has everything,
in,
everything going for them, and they have the best interests of the people and the civilians. But gosh darn it, they can't fix a drippy faucet. It's just dripping in the background. And I watch, you guys all know, I watch with subtitles on because my house is like super noisy. So constantly it's going, dripping continues. Dripping continues. So, and I'm like thinking the fourth time I watched that episode, I'm like, man, the drip is almost a character because it's something that Omega has had to deal with in her cell alone. Mm-hmm. Granted, she gets to go and do her experiments and she's got her tasks, and Emery comes, every day, same time, hey, come on, all right, we have work to do. But there's that drip. It's almost like mind control. It's almost like she knows that she's stuck and this drip is not going anywhere. So she almost has to, wouldn't you have to bond with it after a while? Like you'd have to get to be so comfortable in that space that you now feel like that's your roommate, that drip. Just getting that prison vibe, because they, prisoners, they do things like that to them. That's part of the control in a prison is they put, they electrify the floor, or they tell you it's electrified, or they don't tell you when it's going to be electrified. That floor was like their buddy. They had to bond with that thing to get through the whole thing. And that's like being in prison. You got to like find something to get through it. And I just felt that was odd, that drip was going on the whole time and the Empire couldn't fix it.
Drip, drip, drip.
Ken, what else can you tell us about prison?
So let me tell you, one of the a buddy of mine was in jail. And much like the jail in Andor, it was a very similar institution. He's a drummer like me, and a couple weeks when he was in there, he had his practice pad and he had drumsticks with him, and that's how he got through it. That was his roommate, And the guards they just were being assholes. You know what they did? They took one stick away from him. And that was it. They just came in for no apparent reason, took one stick away from him. So he's left with one stick and a practice pad. So he got pretty good with one hand. And then they came and they took the other stick away. And that's what prison is things being taken away from you that you enjoy. So, hey, kids, PSA, don't commit crimes. Don't go to jail.
Is that the worst thing about prison?
It's pretty bad, bro. Pretty bad.
Those agency customs, man. No nothing.
You lose things and that's so. It's not so bad, I guess, if you have nothing, but if you have things that you enjoy, prison just takes it all away from you. And that's the Empire has prison life down. I mean, they know how to do it.
They have prison life to the point where the so are we to believe that this is Omega's sister, the scientist and everything? They have her thinking that she's not even in a prison, these are good things that are happening, all around. So they got the brainwash thing just going on, like masterful,
Well, I think she explains it as it's not a prison; it's a science facility. Like, I was like, what?
Research.
Research.
We all know those things have to be mutually exclusive. We've never heard of any science being done in any prisons. Not something that's ever happened in history. So we can assume. Luckily, science facility.
So. Omega was questioning Emery in that scene where she was drawing her blood, and she was explaining to her that we all have a purpose. Like maybe we don't know what your purpose is yet, because she was asking her, like, why are you taking my blood? Like, what's the, what's going on? Why is all this experimentation going? And she was very, very diplomatic about it. I thought that Dr. Carr was very calm and controlled the situation and kept Omega sort of enlightened, but in the dark. because she really didn't know. She didn't know what was going on.
She's acting real Tamish right now. I'll say that. Emily's at that point where she's acting like Tam, like she's starting to question, even when she gave her the doll back, like that's a no-no for the, you know what I mean, for the Empire.
Yeah.
So like she's starting to question her loyalty to the Empire, which is very ironic that this is something I'm sure Palpatine senses because he says it, like there are people that are you think that are on our side that are not, that aren't going to be behind it. I mean, she has no idea what they're doing with his blood. When they find out that maybe she finds out that they're doing these experiments and whatnot. Maybe that's going to be the thing that turns her back. I mean, it's very interesting. But yeah, she's kind of a conflicted character, so I don't know where her character leads. I mean, this is the final season, so I mean, all roads lead to some place. But ultimately, we know the ending of all these characters. So, are they going to leave us like Rogue One, or you know? I'm very excited for how this ends because this can go so many places.
Yeah, and I like that they didn't. Like there was that moment where Omega was like, "Come help us," but she didn't. She carried on. She notified security that something was going on, and Crosshair had to stun her. Which that's still an interesting point. When he's dealing with clones, he keeps it on stun. When he's dealing with a droid, he puts it on kill, which is a very cool thing.
Yeah. He doesn't play around with droids. He's just like, no.
But in clones, even though the clones are trying to take him out, he's still stunning them, not killing them.
Right, which is not something like Tam caused a lot of deaths.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Remember, many deaths.
Very reckless.
She was eating next to in the cafeteria, waving at him in the halls,
slaughtering him left and right.
Inside jokes like in the shower, all that stuff. And then just dozens and dozens of them dead because she couldn't make up her mind and stay in the lane. Not so bad. Not so bad here, right? Just lots of naps for stormtrooper naps.
How impressed are we with Omega? Just so after she she gets prodded by the scientist, keep forgetting the name and everything, but that the warning her about her blood and everything, and then saying she was saying, okay, well, you got to escape, you got to get out, and how impressive was it that Omega just by instinct, she made her escape. Her first instinct was to go get Crosshair. I mean, I guess all this build up from the beginning, especially even last season, and as much as it was annoying us with Omega's I guess kiddishness or her sense
immaturity
and everything, it comes to this point where, okay, well, I can appreciate everything that came before now, because what I'm seeing here is that she hasn't really wavered since day one of her loyalty with the Bad Batch, number one, and also doing the right thing, and it's something that Ken is always saying, Star Wars, is always telling these stories, but they tell like a lot of they have some of the same elements over about, characters, having the harder characters doing the right thing. And this is what we're seeing with Omega, with her, going back to get Crosshair and just having just the innate ability to go through that facility and, play things by she's just playing things by ear. Crosshair is like, well, how do you know where to go? How are we going to do this and everything? Crosshair, he knows he's like the muscle, and Omega is just like the one, the lead them out of the facility and everything. The one little detail, and I'm like always paying attention to details, when the stormtroopers came past and talked about Palpatine, the Emperor being on board, and Crosshair's like, oh well, the Emperor's here, and she's like, what? Huh? What? I'm not worried about that. We got to do this. She said the Palpatine means nothing to her. They're trying to get out the facility, and he's like, well, this is the wrong time to do, try to get out the facility, But she's not worried about that. She has just no thing, with the overall bigness of the overall big picture. She's focused on her mission, and it's to get them out of there. She can't, trust Crosshair to try to, to go forward. to lead them. So she has to do that herself. And I was just really impressed with the way the maturity of the written maturity of how they doing this character right now for these first three episodes and stuff.
Well, we have an answer to why she has this intuition now. She's force sensitive, or she has a high enough M count.
I hate that. I hate that. Okay,
hey, we have to go here.
But we don't know if it's the force per se, because it's a genetic enhancement. You can't clone.
It could just be. It doesn't have to be high enough for her to be a Jedi for it to just have gone up.
But she has, it grows, right? And as with her maturity with these clones, the interesting thing becomes if she has a midichlorian count, and we talked about this, if she's a off version of Boba Fett, which Jedi blood did they use in order to get an M count? Because these are clones built off of a base model person that we find being Boba Fett. So Django. So at the beginning, then, would it be like Obi-Wan's blood? Would it be Yoda's blood? Because Yoda was involved early on with the cloning process with the Kaminoans, right?
And we don't know for sure, because the point was the difference with her blood is when they removed it, there was no degradation. It was a pure sample. So that's the point. When they take blood from all these other clones, the blood degrades. That's the problem. Like, when you go for a blood draw, there's a certain amount of degradation, or it loses something during the draw.
Platelets or whatever.
This was a perfect sample, so they know that they can get unlimited amounts. Well, I guess they have to take it in small amounts. If you take too much, I guess they have unlimited amounts of this perfect specimen that does not degrade. That was the point of that, that revelation when Emery saw that. That's what she told him.
Well, the crazy thing is this kind of what Emery explained as her character arc kind of opens up Star Wars in the Clone Wars to a whole new facade when I was analyzing what she said. Because remember, she said that she wasn't born on Kamino. They kind of adopted her. So all this opens up is during the Clone Wars, there is some secret planet or whatever where they had another version of Django, and they were already doing these experiments without the Kamino. So,
and was it female? Do you think that other facility?
It could have been, obviously, but it opens the begs the differ. Like, was this the beginning of the First Order? Could they have taken this First Order arc and had these clones? You know what I mean? This could have really made 7, 8, and 9 make more sense, because now we know that Kamino wasn't the only place to house clones. There was a secret facility, much like this one, to where they already had a cloning program going on. And this is under the Empire's guidance, under Sheev's guidance, right? So now we know that it wasn't just Kamino. So when they blew up Kamino, that's because that was really where the Jedi was building their army from. The Sith already had the cloning process happening somewhere on the Outer Rim. So it really changes the whole dynamic of the Clone War leading into the end of the Clone War, because ultimately, if that would have continued, I mean, Palpatine would have just drew all these clones from wherever they're from and really overtaken the Jedi. So it would have made the Clone War a completely different outcome, I feel like.
You think there's a whole like as many lady Jangos as there are men Jango clones, and there's like a whole, like, you know what I mean, a whole mirror army that nobody's even engaged with, hiding out somewhere. It's all the women.
It could have been, right? It's something that they never. I mean, maybe not a whole army, but I think they started stuff, and they got to the point, when that happened, and then the Empire kind of maybe just said forget it, right?
I was listening to a podcast earlier today talking about this and all that. So the scientist, the lady scientist, and everything has been on here since season 1, right?
Now say,
yeah. She had mentioned, I guess, was something about they took her to a facility. They took her somewhere that hasn't been revealed yet. She said, like, all the way in the first season, about her being taken somewhere and everything. So I guess hopefully, this is season we can find out where she was taken, and if there is like a whole bunch of, like, female, Jangettes or whatever, whatever you want to call it.
Jangettes, I like that. Jangettes.
But but yeah, I mean, it's good to see that they seeded stuff that they can, I mean, you know, actually bring back later, especially if you go off the whole, you know, smoking gun type thing. You gotta fire at some point, you know, especially, you know, those who are astute that remember, you know, characters just saying certain things.
We have another smoking gun. You don't remember that bounty hunter, that some whatever kind of soldier he was. He wasn't a stormtrooper, but when they were down in the clothing facility, he was like standing in the background. That's when they found out that they were missing, right? So now that they escaped, there's like some bounty hunter they're going to send somebody after him. Whether I don't know if they'll do the Vader smoking gun, but we have them now in the they've hyper jumped, and he says that now he has a disposal. So they're going to hire somebody, I'm guessing, to go after him. It's not going to be
entire empire. Like what?
It's not going to be some standard, you know, jet trooper. Although we did get Praetorian Guards, which is kind of crazy off the bat. So that's another sequel trilogy tie-in.
Emperor doesn't go anywhere without those guys.
He had the big Praetorian Guards with him, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which is crazy. That was really cool to see the Praetorian Guards that early.
Oh yeah, that was they look really good.
The way they come out, yeah. So that was really cool.
Guards, Palpatine. We got to see a bunch of stuff that was really awesome in these. I mean, honestly, it was really good.
It was.
It was a fun time.
Oh man.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited about the whole overall tone. We got like a whole bunch of the colors, sort of a lot of gray, blue, you know, dark black, you know, like
what's going on with the animation this year? It's incredible. It looks so much better than before, and like you're getting so many. Even like Hunter has all that battle damage and like scuffs and scrapes and everything, right. And there's like green in his, like a green highlight in his armor that just looks so good.
Yeah,
everything looks
really
awesome.
Precise. It's precise. Even the stormtroopers, like let's call them Phase 1 stormtroopers, like their armor is like beat up. It's got. When they did close-ups, when Crosshair broke out of his cell, we got some good close-ups of Stormtrooper armor. And there was a lot of like blues and yellows showed like maybe corrosion. Maybe there's like they were, you know, not being taken care of quite, you know, the best that they could. And I thought of something else like,
well, even though they showed the
hair
stuff. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's another thing. Yeah. Her hair's longer now. Her hair's a lot longer. She has like the ponytail with the top piece. So,
and so does Emery.
Yeah,
same style. And like when they walk, the characters walk. Their hair, like the females, the hemlock doesn't move because he's got like that like Captain Kirk vibe going on. He's just like stuck. But the animation is really really tuned up.
So they don't have like the Final Fantasy cloud hair that just like stiff and it doesn't move.
Right. It's just like
polygons.
Right. Yeah. It's not. Yeah.
I think
it's all triangles on there up there.
Right.
Coming off Resistance, and not to say that Resistance animation was bad. I thought actually the Resistance animation flow was pretty good, but you weren't getting those colors and everything and the shades and stuff like how you are with this. So it's a stark contrast of what the style that they experimented with on that show, because they could have very well still kept in like the whole, you know, Clone Wars, you know, Bad Batch, you know, type of vibe and everything with Resistance. To this, you know, coming off that to this, you're just seeing like the good stuff here, you know, and I was just appreciating the whole, like I said, you even to like the camera shots and stuff. You got like a lot of slow motion moving in and moving out, you know, to simulate vibe and simulate, you know, intent, you know, tension and everything in the scene and stuff I really wasn't seeing in prior episodes, you know, and they're like ramping it up and everything. I'm like, okay, yeah. Is this a kid show? Are we sure this is a kid show?
Yeah. Or is it a cartoon? Are these real people? Like, am I looking at real people here? I think I am.
The tone, it seems it's more almost like they wanted to make it live action, like the color tones and whatnot. I really appreciate and it's more the scenery, right? The scenery like has its own life. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's a lot more realistic. It's more interactive for a cartoon. Most of the scenery is usually very static, but
Right.
the backgrounds, the scenery, it's just they're using a lot more. I mean, even when we had the Resident Evil episode, when it was like going into the Umbrella kind of facility and they were going through the different levels, like just the interaction with the environment is it. They've really taken this show to another level. I felt like not only for the main characters, but just like the details, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, the button presses, the traps they fall into, the vine. It's everything just seems a lot more, believable as far as a cartoon. Like it's just a lot more interactive.
Yeah.
It kind of makes you feel like you're part of, a more realistic environment. It's complete. It's a complete to me. It's a complete different show from last
Yeah,
season.
and even when they were getting attacked by the vines, like it was like, what more could happen to these guys? I felt bad. I felt like they were just piling it on. It was like it was terrible. It was just an awful situation. Normally with a cartoon, do you feel empathy?
Not so much so.
Like when you're watching The Simpsons, do you when Homer, I don't know, falls over a chair or falls down or sprains his ankle? I mean, do you care? No, because it's cheap animation.
I mean, but that's meant to laugh and everything. This here is meant to, even with the Resistance, it's a kid's show, but it's not meant to be ha ha. He funny and everything. There's still anytime the Star Wars set itself up. And George Lucas, to me, was a genius in doing this. Set the whole environment up to deal with the political ramifications of an empire taking over a galaxy and what that means to the people that's dealing with the effects of that. So you, in actuality, even if you're doing a kids show, you still got to deal with those mature elements and everything, coming in all this and stuff. So when everybody's being affected, we have the only how much lightsaber stuff have we gotten in this series? No, little to none. I don't remember anything before Kanan back in that first thing, with lightsaber stuff. We haven't really got any force sensitive folks and stuff. I mean, they're telling really great stories outside of the whole Skywalker, force sensitive, lightsaber, Jedi, type stuff, and still keeping us super interested in what's going to happen. And we know what's going to happen. The Empire falls and the First Order eventually comes in. But they're trying, like you said, you guys talked about earlier, they're tying a lot of the elements that the sequel trilogy brought about, so we can find out exactly what happened. And it's also a shame to me that it's being written better than what we got in the sequel stuff, but they're carrying the weight of that just to tell a story. That's I guess that's the only downside to all this. They're telling a really great story where they only have one way to go, so. And that's straight into the sequel trilogy.
The future's paved. Like they can't really change that. We can't get a big.
Yeah.
Oh well, hey, guess what? The Empire didn't go away. They can't really change the way.
Didn't return.
Right.
Yeah.
He didn't return.
Somehow
they're not retconning that. You know what I just thought about as we were talking about this and this cloning stuff? This kind of pays off Rey's father, right? Because think about it. He eventually does get it right because Rey's father's a clone of Palpatine. That's how Rey was born. That Rey's mother met a clone because Palpatine never had a kid biologically. His son was like a perfect version of a clone that they've created for him. Like I don't know, because he didn't like the rule of two. I don't know what his plan with his son was, but his son, fell in love or whatever, or maybe his son was maybe like the Shmi thing that he learned from Plagueis to create life. So I thought, and it kind of, I don't know, thinking about this now, if they were leading that route, because when he said Rey, like my granddaughter, I don't know if maybe that was his goal to have her, serve under him, but
would you want to tell her the truth right up front like that? Like, would you want?
It makes it strange, when we think about this now, because when they talk about this cloning process now to where the sequel trilogy is, now the fact that they've said that this cloning facility has been going on since he was, a younger form, it makes the whole Ray's father, Palpatine son clone, it makes that more believable. Because at the end, because before I'm like, and you know what? I'll say this makes episode 9 a little better. Now they're starting to put these nuggets in there because now I can be like, oh, okay, cool. Well, they've been cloning for over 50 at the point, 50 to 60 years. So eventually they would get something right to create, I don't know, a perfect version of something that he would assimilate a child. So they're trying. I'll give them that. This is a great show, and they're trying to make the sequel trilogy make sense. I don't know if that's coming from HQ or if that's something Filoni's just doing as a personal project, but I'm excited for what he's doing. And like I said, he's making it believable for me. So
it's for the fans. It's for the hardcore story. This is not for like the casuals and stuff. Because if you're just watching the sequel trilogies, or any of the movie stuff just as is or whatever, you're taking it for what was put on that screen and everything. But this is for us who, okay, well, we need a little bit more context on what you're talking about here, because what you delivered to us in the beginning, it does not make sense.
No.
And this being the final, and this being the final season seems to have delivered a sense of purpose back on the rails, like you're saying, Ken. And I mean, they're definitely having to get to the point here to tell us what happened to the clones, to set up this whole cloning thing that pulls in Mandalorian and Grogu, right? Obviously, into that whole milieu. Mm-hmm. So some really good stuff happening here in season 3, and no more runaway rail cars in the sky for Tech. And Tech was good at everything. Good at racing the pods, knew all the stuff. I mean, a little bit of a Mary Sue, and I think it's great that Omega has managed to not be a Mary Sue and still be somewhat capable. Definitely no damseling, really. No whining, oh, come save me, come rescue me. Omega was very capable, did all these things on her own. And so I appreciated that. I appreciated that we weren't just like, she was helpless without Crosshair. And until she got Crosshair, like, she couldn't do anything. That was not how this was presented. Right. And I'm glad, because otherwise, Omega is annoying if she is, just constantly saying, oh, save me.
Yeah, they straddled the line with it. Yeah.
Yep. There wasn't anything objectionable or annoying about her presence in any scene in these three episodes.
They had her making like a corn husk doll, and I was like, they because they anchored that emotionally, it worked, and that anchored the two kind of halves of the plot together, which I just appreciated. So good use of symbolism. This is. It's really great, and it's you want to say it's a shame that's the end, but there's 15 episodes, right? So it's
they kept showing that doll, right? They kept showing it here and there. It was in pretty much every scene. There was some symbolic reference to her childhood, her unwillingness to grow. I mean, she wanted to stay a child because she was happy.
Right.
Now they're tearing that away from her. They're stripping her of her happiness, her childhood.
She had the idealism before. Now she's in the trenches and everything, and she's in a light. She is dark, and she doesn't have the other Bad Batch members to have her back and everything. And now she's in. I guess she's in the crosshairs.
She's definitely in a crossroad. She's at a crossroad in her life that now she has to decide like where she wants to be, where she wants to stand. Because she's willing to. Her and Emery, I think we said it. We think they're sisters. We think they're related somehow, but there's definitely a bond. And with Nayla Say, also, I mean, there's a relationship there. She basically has to leave all that now. So she's casting that all aside, and she has to now she has to reinvent herself. And I think episode 4 is going to be solid. Like, I feel like episode 4 is going to like be a big one. I can't wait.
I'm good with everything we're in the game. It's the final season. if you want to call, because we're going to get those quote unquote filler episodes and everything. But I think there's still going to be plot drivers like the second episode was. It's still going to be have the plot in there. Still going to drive things forward and everything. Even though we may have to deviate, it's still 15 episodes. So what are we going to do? And I think we should be real confident on where they're going to take us.
Good stuff, man. Like I said, another great episode and way to start off our official 2024 Star Wars catalog. Like, if this is the beginning
I
of,
love Star Wars.
We talk about it, right? Think about it with all the project. If this is where we're starting the Star Wars in an animated show, I mean, geez, I can't look forward to what we have for the rest of the season and the rest of the year. I mean, this is really starting our year off with a bang and a lot more stuff coming out for us. So, as always, guys, please smash a like if you're watching us live on YouTube, obviously on Facebook. Give us a thumbs up, and please give us your commentary. We will be back, and a lot of people like the fan fiction stuff. That will be coming back. We'll be squeezing that in and kind of trickling that in, as well as, doing more Star Wars reviews as we head to episode 4 next week. Kind of sad we got 3, but we'll get back to pace and do 1 a week. We'll maybe do a deeper dive into that. And like I said, based on this pace, I'm nothing but optimistic that this is going to be a great season. So, yeah, guys, I appreciate everybody again. And until next week, this is the way.
This is the way.